你好，
你好，
喝茶，
飲茶，
谢谢。
多謝。
Types of Chinese people. Mandarin versus Cantonese. Now, a lot of people, especially North America, they don't know the difference. They think all the Chinese are the same. There are actually many, many different types of Chinese. Now, within mainland China itself, there are so many different provinces and different types of language. Not everybody speaks Mandarin. Even if they speak Mandarin, they have different types of accents. And if you're very, very good, you'll be able to know the difference. Now, for Cantonese, mostly it's from Hong Kong or from Guangzhou, right? So we speak Cantonese. I'm lucky because my mom is from Taiwan, which she speaks Mandarin, and my dad is from Hong Kong. So I'm fortunate enough to speak both languages. Now, Jenny, your parents are from mainland China, and so you speak Mandarin.
only.
Yeah, mainland. And but because we've been married for a number of years now, you also learn Cantonese from me. Now, Vic, you speak Cantonese, and your parents are from Hong Kong, right?
That's right.
And you came over when it's not around 1997.
It's just, it was actually in the late 80s.
Ladies.
So my parents wanted to immigrate to Canada because they had some fears and worries about the 1997 handover.
Yes.
When China was to get Hong Kong back from British ruling.
Yes.
So that's really a major reason why there was an influx of immigration from Hong Kong during those years.
In terms of both language, what do you think is the difference? First of all, it sounds very different. And sometimes Cantonese, my Mandarin speaking friends, when I speak Cantonese to other Cantonese people, they think we're arguing. They think we're yelling at each other because we speak so fast and they feel like we're arguing. Actually, we're not.
Yes.
It's just the way that we speak. What do you think is the difference?
Definitely first the pronunciation.
Pronunciation.
Difference. And then I
And
think
in Mandarin, you have how many? Is it 4?
yeah, only four.
Only 4?
I think Cantonese have nine.
Nine tones.
9 tones, yes.
Yeah, that's huge difference. I think another thing is I think Cantonese also have a lot more like the Chinese characters. They create their own kind of Chinese.
Slangs. Kind of.
Yeah. So it's so
Lot of
different.
Cantonese
Yeah, I remember like when I was young, like in China, I saw a Hong Kong newspaper. I couldn't understand what it says on the newspaper.
Hopefully you can understand the words,
Yeah,
but you don't
then
know what
I
they're
never
saying.
saw these words before. Like, what is that? Yeah, it's really different.
And also, what do you think? What about?
Yeah, it's interesting because officially, Cantonese, it's a dialect.
Yes.
It's not really like an official language compared to Mandarin, where it is the official language of the Chinese, right? So because it's a dialect, there's a lot of flexibility, and a lot of new words and new slangs and languages are created on the fly,
Yes.
depending on what's trending.
Yes.
Maybe a new movie comes out and a very popular actor said something cool, and now the entire city of Hong Kong is trending that word.
Yeah.
Right, and that's not uncommon for like new phrases to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think in terms of the written words, in mainland China, they have the simplified Chinese. In Taiwan and Hong Kong, they use the traditional Chinese, which is more complicated, more complex, right?
Yeah.
The word itself. So they're a little bit different. And what about in terms of culture? Taiwan, Hong Kong versus mainland China, what is the main difference?
I think first thing is because Hong Kong used to belong to British, so the culture is totally different compared to maybe Hong Kongese people, like they were born like 10 years or 20 years ago. And then they would have that feeling like, we're just Hong Kong. We don't belong to anyone. We're just
We're their own
ourselves. Yes,
colony,
our own
right?
country,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Although they only got 7-8 million people.
Yeah,
And I'm from Hong Kong, so I get it.
yeah, and also another thing is I think because Hong Kong, the economy booming was way earlier compared to China. So people in Hong Kong, they make more money, and then the city is more developed compared to China 20 years ago, which is still just a little city, right, compared to Hong Kong. So that's why for mainland Chinese people, I think Hong Kong is this kind of glorious, pretty city that people look up to.
More developed at that
Yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah, definitely. And when we talk about the language aspect of it, my parents, they're in their early 70s now. Their generation, actually very few people from Hong Kong back then spoke Mandarin. And even if you try to speak Mandarin to my parents now, they're very sloppy. They're not going to understand what you're speaking to them. And then things start to shift after the handover. The Chinese government had really wanted to go in and start to transform the school system. So there's been a big shift in how much
making Mandarin kind of part of the training, part of the education.
Exactly. They really wanted to be more dominant as a language, and as a part of their taking over Hong Kong as a city as well, right? And it's definitely a different time, right? Back then, my parents, when they were working in Hong Kong, being a capitalist city under the British colony, as a British colony, a lot of things, the economy, everything just flourished. And I remember when I was a child growing up, we learned English as a second language. We actually didn't learn Mandarin. So my first language was Cantonese, but my second was English, and it wasn't even Mandarin. So that's the interesting part of it.
And also I can see before, at 1997, your wave of Chinese immigrants, Hong Kong immigrants, coming to North America because they're afraid of the handover. And afterwards, because they think it's going to be horrible. And then later on, turns out actually it's not as bad. So a bunch of them actually move back. And now it's just kind of like a little bit rocky, right? Now they're also now moving back here as well. Because it's kind of interesting. Now with Cantonese and Mandarin, with Taiwanese, I find that from Taiwan, Taiwanese, culture-wise, I feel out of all three, Taiwanese is the most friendly from my experience. That just the way that they are, the culture. And also because they were, when Japan, when they had their war and everything, so it was a number of years. So you can see a lot of the Japanese influence as well in Taiwan. So I find it a little bit interesting. So sometimes when you communicate with different types of Chinese, don't necessarily say, hey, you speak 谢谢, while they speak Cantonese. Yeah, they understand what you're talking about, but that's not the language. So the polite thing to do would be to ask, where are you from? Are you from Hong Kong? Are you from mainland China? What language do you speak? Do you speak Cantonese? Do you speak Mandarin? Just good to find out. But there is a concern, I think now, people who speak Cantonese, they're afraid that the language might kind of slowly disappear because everything now is about Mandarin. What do you think?
I wouldn't think so. I think in the city of Guangzhou,
which
they
is a lot of
still
people.
speak Cantonese. I don't feel like, and then because we have so many Cantonese movies or songs, and I think we can still keep that.
I think what's also very interesting is a little place like Hong Kong with a few million people that this little city have created or produced so many trends, celebrities like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, a lot of these actors and actresses, a lot of action movies came from one little city like that. I find that's pretty interesting. A lot of wealthy individual, wealthy family, Lee family, all that also came from there. Just a small little city. Any changes that you see in terms of both language? Is there an advantage now? You know both language. Do you think it's an advantage to know both?
I do feel that way. If you are trying to sell to Chinese, for sure, if you can speak both languages, it will definitely help. And then I think also if you are a Caucasian and then you can speak just a little bit Chinese, I think it would really impress them.
Yes.
Right. Definitely because of the trust issue. If you can speak a little bit of their native language, you automatically have bonus points right off the bat. So you want that edge, you want that advantage right out of the gate.
And I know for Caucasian, learning Mandarin would be way easier than learning Cantonese. And also it's more commonly used. And I remember we saw a guy, he was working in the mall, working in a booth, working for Microsoft. And Microsoft has a booth. And at the time, it was just a new service, just released. And there's this Caucasian guy, I remember clearly because we were shopping. There's this Chinese couple, they're playing around with the service. And suddenly this Caucasian young guy just jumped in and say, like, how can I help you in Mandarin? And they were like shocked.
Fluently.
Yeah, fluently. Whoa, how can you speak Chinese? Holy shit. And he's like, well, I've been in Beijing for 2 years, I lived there and this and that. Immediately closed the sale. Immediately. So I could see that. I think Chinese people, when you just even know a few simple words, few simple lines, it's almost a sign of you respect the culture, right? You don't need to speak fluently, but if you speak a little bit, they feel like you're at least taking the time, you're trying. that adds a bonus. So you're doing business with Chinese, just learn some basic language. Thank you, goodbye, how are you, do you like this? Like simple, basic things, I think it will help you a lot. Now, a lot of the smart businessmen in even America, they're sending their kids to learn Mandarin. Mark Zuckerberg is learning Mandarin. There's something to be said about that. I would say Mark is a pretty smart guy. So maybe you want to learn it, or maybe you want your kids to learn it. Why not have that advantage? Us maybe in the future, even though they may not be thinking of going to China or doing business with the Chinese, but why not have that language? When you learn a new language, I believe also you learn the culture. You can learn, acquire just a new world of knowledge. And I'm fortunate I'm able to read Chinese, both Chinese and English, and I read both types of books, and I learn a lot from both. So if you're thinking of learning Mandarin or even thinking of learning Cantonese, comment below, and maybe I will post a couple links of where some of the good resources to learn these languages as well. Make sure, give us a like, thumbs up, don't give us a down. Okay, don't do that. Give us a thumbs up, comment below, and also any questions you might have, leave a comment, click subscribe, turn on notification. I'll see you in the next episode.